The presumption in the law in the West now is that the custody of children goes to the mother unless there are very serious reasons otherwise. But traditionally that has not been the case in fiqh beyond a certain age. The laws of evidence. I didn't mention the laws of evidence earlier, but I think this is a very serious issue, that where a particular fiqh is being enforced, as in Pakistan or Iran, the laws of evidence, of giving evidence, work against women in certain situations. The whole problem about rape in Pakistan was because conviction under the hudud laws for rape requires male witnesses. And so women who have reported rape to the police have found themselves being accused of adultery in turn. I mean, this has been the nonsense. Laws of inheritance. I mean, the Turkish poet Ziya argued very strongly for equality in the laws of inheritance. But that is because traditionally there is no equality. So the question is, if you recognize family, Sharia family law as part of public law or an aspect of public law in the West, you create a huge contradiction between the values of public law in the West and what may happen in terms of Sharia courts, for instance, or arbitration tribunals today. This is also a question in relationship to Islamic finance. I mean, the other fatwa that Sheikh Ali Goma delivered last year was that bank interest is not riba, it's not usury. Now, you know.
I said it before in 1991.
Alhamdulillah. But you see, I mean, the Egyptian tradition is very long. Muhammad Abdu said it in 1905, I think. Nevertheless, the impression that is given in the West is that there is only one interpretation of this subject. And the whole edifice of Islamic finance is built on that. Now, the question arises that if you provide Sharia compliant products, and maybe even if that leads to Sharia based financial institutions, what will happen in the case of a dispute? And so what was said by these prominent figures that you've mentioned is also opening the way, possibly, I mean, they may not realize this, but it is opening the way for a parallel financial system, which again will lead to greater segregation, Muslims living their own financial lives as well as personal and family lives. I mean, this is the kind of thing I was speaking out against. This is not to say that what Islamic financial theory has to say about particular matters has nothing to teach us. I mean, in some respects it does, but that's not the issue.
Let's go over this side.
My name is Ali. Thank you very much for your rich lecture, and it shows that you are in the middle. And I want to highlight a point about apostasy. And
could you just hold the microphone a little closer? Thank you.
It's really clear in the Holy Quran that there is no enforcement in the religious. لا إكراه في الدين.
لا إكراه في الدين.
And the majority of Islamic scholars agree with that, and they said the punishment should be in the other life. But there is minority of scholars said that we have to differentiate between two kinds of apostasy, between those who committed apostasy and stay at home calm, and between those who committed and tried to criticize Islam and to hurt Islam. Those people should be punished. And what do you think? It is. Do you think those are right or wrong? Thank you.
Yes, this is what I was saying. This is also Sheikh Qardawi's view. I think it is a better view than punishing all apostates in the same way, but it is not enough because freedom of belief and of expressing our belief demands that people should be able to criticize any religion. People criticize Christianity all the time. I think maybe Muslims have to learn that this criticism can be good for religions because they can then respond and be strengthened in terms of what is being said about them. Of course, I would say that that has to be a respectful exchange and not in any way rude or insulting to people. However, these two young women, Maryam and Marzieh, whose example I was giving, have been accused of propagating Christianity, not criticizing Islam. That's a different matter. And I think that Sheikh Qardawi's strictures would include them under the great, Rida al-Akbar, because they are propagating another religion. They're not just saying, I don't believe, but also saying that something else is the truth. And then how do you judge what is Rida al-Asghar and what is Rida al-Akbar? Because if somebody is sitting at home and he says something to his Muslim neighbor, and the Muslim neighbor says this is a blasphemy against the Prophet, or desecrating the Quran, or nowadays even to say in some places, even to quote the Quran like La ikra fi din or lakum dinikum wali dini, those references to the Quran, it's taken by them as blasphemy of the Quran. Because you are not a Muslim, who are you to say this is the meaning of the Quran? So, we have some difficulties there also.
Right here in the middle.
This lady was seeking to say something.
Hi, Emily Bell's World Magazine. You mentioned the incitement to religious hatred laws in England. And I wanted to hear whether you think that has had the effect of chilling speech about Islam.
There was a long debate about this issue, and in the end, an amendment sponsored by Lord Waddington and George Carey, the former Archbishop of Canterbury, was passed, which basically said that nothing in this law shall be taken to prevent free speech. So I think that was a saving grace, if you like. However, I think the law has had a dampening effect. There have been several cases where people have said something publicly or on the radio and have been visited by the police. Now, no action has been taken against them as far as I know, but they have been told that they might be causing Islamophobia or homophobia or whatever it might be. Now, this is not just a question about religions or sexuality. This is actually a concern about a kind of police state that seems to be emerging more and more. I don't know whether it's like that here, where there's a kind of thought police that's, always monitoring what people are saying. And I think that would be a very regrettable development if all of these laws resulted in a dampening down of free discussion and certainly discussion of belief, whether religious or secular.
Right there in the end.
Hilo Fratkin of the Hudson Institute.
The question I wanted to ask comes from the last 2 points that you mentioned. One is the reply you've gotten with regard to citations from the Quran, where you, in a way, are proposing a kind of an interpretation of Islam. And I guess my question regarding that is, at the end of the day, if Muslims say, well, this is our religion, and if you have a position that calls upon you to respect our religion, and that includes polygamy, it includes various provisions of our family law and so forth, what would you suggest your government or your society say to that? Well, I mean, how will the principles and lines be drawn? And the other question has to do with this hate crimes or hate speech laws. I wonder if one of the difficulties of that is that we ourselves have now declared that certain things are blasphemous. That is, one cannot criticize different groups. I mean, not that I'm recommending it, but all manner of insults of ethnic groups, of religious groups, of what we call now gender groups, are prohibited or discouraged strongly by our laws. It seems to me that that has created a considerable problem with respect to blasphemy laws as well.
Well, I mean, just to take the middle bit of your question first, if I may, until very recently, there was a public doctrine of marriage in Britain, which was drawn from, well, it was actually drawn from the Book of Common Prayer. And what the state did or said about marriage was measured against that public doctrine. Now, for reasons which have nothing to do with Islam at all, we have lost that public doctrine. But that does mean, as you, I think, were saying, that it seems that there is a free-for-all, that anything goes. And certainly the planners, I mean, the town planners and the housing planners are planning for a free-for-all in Britain. People having transient relationships, what will that mean for housing? People having more than one sexual relationship simultaneously, what does that mean for life to, and all of this is part of a, so of course when that happens, then it is perfectly understandable for a religious tradition to say, but plural marriage is allowed in our tradition. If you are allowing it for secular people, why not for us? I mean, that's the logic. It's not foreseen perhaps by those who say these things, but that's the effect of it. I mean, any society has to arrive at some sort of view about the balance between freedom and the protection of those who need protection. That has always been the case and always will be the case. But the presumption must be for freedom. And where that freedom is limited for one reason or another, I mean, pedophilia is an obvious example where the state has to protect children. Now, we may say in one case or another the state in protecting children is actually going so far that it's impinging on people's freedom of association and voluntary work and all sorts of other things. But well, yes, but I mean, like, that again has implications in the context of interreligious dialogue. But what I mean is the presumption must be for freedom. And then for every restriction in terms of protecting anyone else will have to be justified in its own terms. The problem with the legislature, and certainly in Britain and in many European countries, is that they're not wholly free, because again and again what you think is a new step is actually only reflecting a decision that has been taken by some non-elected body in the European Union. And again and again I have found this to be the case. So the national legislatures are only mimicking what the European Union has already directed.